Hey everybody, welcome back, and today I'm really excited because I have got a demo first impressions of a relatively new brand as far as I can find out, and that is Vanity makeup. And this palette came out, I want to say this palette came out a few months ago, and I've had it for a while and I just am now getting around to filming with it. But I have the Vanity makeup signature palette. I also have the contour palette, and I know a lot of people are interested in this brand because they kind of came out of nowhere, it seems, and they're a little expensive. It's not, these two babies were not cheap. So I wanted to share my thoughts with you and just show you how the products go on. So what I'm probably going to do, probably how the way this is going to work, and I'll put timestamps down below, is that I will go through and kind of talk you through this palette, how it works, how it goes on me, what I think about it, show you swatches, all that kind of good stuff, and then we will go in and just do a regular type demo for the palette, and then we will do swatches and I'll share my thoughts with you, pricing, my overall experience, comparisons, that kind of thing. And again, I'll put timestamps down below if you are interested in one over the other. So if you're interested to learn more about the Vanity makeup contour palette and signature palette, then stick around. Okay guys, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into the Vanity makeup contour palette. Now, when I bought this, it came in a bundle, and I think I got this and the palette for around $120 or $110 with shipping, but this does retail for $40. So this palette does come in 5 different options: fair, light, medium, tan, and dark. So I do like the options there. This is the fair trio. So again, it retails for $40, and right now you can bundle with the actual sculpting brushes that they have for $90. So they're all cream products. It's a nice compact. It closes, it feels sturdy. I wouldn't feel any kind of way about traveling with this, and it does have a mirror on it. So a really nice little compact. So the way they say how to use it, I'm just going to go through because I know a brand not a lot of people are familiar with. If you go to Vanity Makeup Collection or Vanity Makeup's website, they have a how to use. They show you how to use it, and it says these are the instructions. Apply the cream contour to give the illusion of shadow on your face for overall sculpted and defined look. Apply the highlighting cream to bring light to the center area of the face, and apply the shimmer cream before or after setting the face for a glowing effect. So you can use the shimmering powder before or after setting your face per the website. I think what I'm going to do, I have already put on my foundation. I use my LYS Triple Fix Serum Foundation. I am in the shade LP4, and then I went ahead and just concealed a little bit around my eyes and around just some of these areas where I tend to get a little bit of just darkness. And for that, I use the Beauty Bakery Instabake 3-in-1 Concealer, and I am in the shade Nice Cream. So before I even put this on my face, I'm going to swatch these for you, and they do feel nice and creamy. So that is the sculpting shade, that's the highlighting shade, and this is the glow shade. And I think what I'm going to do, that glow shade is really pretty. I haven't put these on my face yet. Just to get this on my face, I'm just going to use some flat eyeshadow brushes that I don't use that very often, that are clean. And for my contour, I'm going to go in with my Sigma Flat Angled Kabuki, the F88. This is what I love to use with my Jordana Sculpt and Glow or Sculpt and Go contour stick. I love it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, this is just a flat shader brush, and I'm just going to go into the highlighting shade. And I'm just going to place this kind of along the center of my face. I'm not going to go too crazy because I do have dry skin, and you know, I have texture, so I don't want to layer up too much. Let's see how that blends out. We're going to go with that. And then I'm going to take my F80 Kabuki, and I'm just going to go straight into the sculpting. And I'm going to just put this where I would normally sculpt my face. I do like to take this around my forehead. Guys, I got a lot of real estate up there, so got to do something with it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go in with the clean side of my Real Techniques, or no, sorry, this is my e.l.f. Beauty Sponge, and just blend in the highlighting section, or the highlighting portion. And again, I haven't put any powder on my face. Okay, that's blending really It's blending really prettily into the skin. I probably wouldn't use it around my forehead just because my forehead is it's moving around the foundation on my forehead. It didn't, and on my nose. It didn't on my cheeks, and it's not on my chin, but my forehead tends to be a problem area for me. So let me go back in with a little bit more of my foundation. Okay, yeah, I just redid this area with my foundation and my concealer because I did not like the way that layered over. Like if I had no foundation on and just put that there and then kind of blended it into my foundation, it'd probably work a little bit better. Let's see how this, I'm just blending in the contour with my Sigma F88, and I probably went way too heavy with it. I'm used to just putting it on with that stick and then blending it in, so I'm gonna have to go back in with my foundation just to kind of ease everything up. But the contour is also blending really beautifully into the skin. I don't see it moving my foundation around. It's just kind of, and this brush just does a great job of kind of getting it where you want it and blending it in without making it move everything else around it. Yeah, I think I'd probably just use one of these smaller brushes to apply the contour to my skin, just to really kind of zero in on where I want it. I'm just gonna go back in with a little bit more of this. And I'm just gonna blend it in with my sponge. It does add a really, really pretty, this highlighting. I like the contour shade. I don't like the way I applied it. So that's probably just on me, and that's just gonna be part of the learning curve for this product. But I really like the way the highlighting shade is really just giving a natural lift to my face. And again, it blended into the foundation beautifully. I'm not having a problem with it. It's just kind of nice. It's hydrating. Again, I wasn't really a fan of it on my forehead or my nose, but I have to be really careful with that area of my face anyway, because it's just a problem area. I'm gonna put a little bit down here. Again, just to balance out this contour. I really like this. Okay, so really, application was my fault. All right, guys, so let me zoom you in just so you can kind of see. So they blended into the foundation. I'm looking at my monitor right now really nicely. I think for me, there's definitely a learning curve in terms of the best way to apply it, but that's on me, not the product. But once I got it where I wanted it, it blended out really pretty. So let's zoom out. Okay, so yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with this so far. I didn't know if I was gonna like this. And the contour shade, it reminds me a lot of the Jordana Sculpt and Glow. It went on very easily. It blended out beautifully with the brush with this F88 without moving my foundation around. The highlighting shade, I actually really like. I think I wouldn't use it in this area just because those are trouble areas on my face personally, and I've got to be very picky on the products I use. But on my cheeks, I think they blend out beautifully. I would feel comfortable not even maybe throwing on just a glowy blush and going because I think they did a beautiful job of adding a lift to my face without any, shimmer or sparkle or glow. It's just very natural if I wanted to just have a very natural day. So I'm very happy with that and how all of these blended out. So let's go ahead and move on to the glowy shade. I think I'm gonna put this on with my sponge before I set my face. So I'm just gonna go right into the product with my sponge, and I'm just gonna start putting this right where I would put my highlight. Oh, that's pretty. I like it. Yay, I'm so excited. Okay, I'm gonna zoom you in a little bit because I want you to see as I'm gonna blend this out a little bit more. I'm just gonna kind of do a C around the outer portion of my eye. That's really pretty. It's so subtle. There's no shimmer or glitter to this, or shimmer, you know what I mean? There's no glittery sparkliness at all. It is literally just a beautiful, glowy, natural highlight. This is so pretty. I don't really think it's exacerbating any texture I have on my skin. I think it's just adding a beautiful glow. I'm gonna put a little bit of this just right on the tip of my nose. So guys, that is the glow. The glowing, what is it called? The glow cream out of the trio. So again, you're not getting sparkle, it's just a really, really pretty, luminous, glowy finish to the skin. I am really pleasantly surprised by this little palette. So let's go ahead and move on to the eye look, and then we will finish up, and we'll do just some swatches of the actual eyeshadow palette. Starting the look, I just went in with my Ultimate Brow Highlighter from Wet n Wild. Now taking a BRC S02 brush from Coastal Scents, I'm going to go into that lightest shade in the palette, and we are just going to put this all over the eye from lash line to brow bone. Taking a BH V5 brush from the Vegan line, I'm going to go into the second lightest shade in the palette. I'm going to tap off my brush, and we're just going to start laying this down pretty generously as a transition shade. Picking up a Coastal Scents BR250, I'm going to go into that reddish brown shade in the palette, and we're going to start building up the depth in the outer corner. I'm going to go just back and forth motions and just drag this to that inner or that outer third of the eye. And once most of the product is deposited, we're just going to start blowing this out. Taking a Sigma E25, I'm going to go into the second deepest shade in the palette. We're going to lay this down in the very outer corner. I'm going to pick up that BR250 brush again with no more product on it and just blend this out. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that lightest shade on my Morphe M441 and again just kind of soften up these edges. Alright, I'm going to tightline and put some liner in my waterline, and then we're going to finish up the rest of the look. Let's finish up the rest of this look. So with a flat definer E15 from Sigma, I'm going to go into the black shade, and I had just put a black liner in the waterline, and I'm just going to start smoking this out. So once we've got that black shade on there, I'm going to go back in with the E25 and the second deepest shade in the palette, and we're going to start blending this out. Going back in with that Sigma E25, I'm going to go in with that reddish, orangey shade. And we're just going to work on blowing this out. Going back in with that 2R BR250 from Sigma, or sorry, from Coastal Scents. I'm not going to go in with anything else, and I'm just going to kind of blend that out. I'm going to go back in with a little bit more of that reddy orangey shade and just really redefine that color on the upper lid to balance it out. I'm back in with that M441 with no more product on it and just softening everything up. Now for the fun part, we're going to go in with the glitters. Yay! So going into that more goldeny diamond shadow, I'm just going to place this wet or dry on my eye because I want you to see what it looks like. There is a little bit of fallout, but it's so stinking pretty. Not much. These diamond shades are really the only shades I had fallout with. So that's what it looks like dry. So I'm going to go back in with that same brush and apply the shadow wet so you can see how high impact it can be. And it is beautiful. Going in with that lightest diamond shade just on my finger. How pretty is that? I'm going to pop that right over that first one. And I'm not going to care if it goes above my crease. Just really, really super pretty. I'm going to pick up that BR250 brush again and just go back and forth to kind of blend it in on the lid till you get that transition that you want. Taking a Refer 12 brush, I'm going to go back into that same diamond shade, that light one, wet it down. I'm going to pop that right into the inner corner there. And I'm going to go into that lightest shimmer shade in the palette with that same brush and just pop that right over. Alright guys, so I'm going to clean up this fallout. I'm going to put on some lashes, some liner, and I will be right back. Okay guys, so that's the eye look. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's really fall appropriate. It's very glam and it's given me a lot of impact, at least what I can see in the mirror. I'm not quite sure how it's coming across on camera, but in person, I'm really, really loving the look. So this palette retails for $90. Again, I got this one and the contour in a bundle for $125. So 90 and 40 is $130. So I didn't save a bunch of money. I saved like $5, but still it's saving money if you're interested in both. So the palette is very, very luxe. It's beautiful. It has this kind of almost beigey cream color on it with the gold detail. It is embossed on the back, and then you have a sticker telling you all the information, which I'm really not going to get into because there's so many good channels out there that get into that kind of information, and I'm just not going to compare grams and all that kind of stuff. So sorry guys. You open it up and you do have a nice mirror, and the color continues on the inside, so it's very complimentary of the shades in here. You do get 12 shades, and according to their website, you get 6 buttery mattes. So you've got all the mattes on top and then your other shades down here, which is very reminiscent of Lorac, and I love that. And then you get 3 intense metallics, which is this one, and this one. And then you get 3 diamond sparkles, which are these 3 right here. So a nice mix of color, just first impressions. I know everybody says this kind of looks like the Tati Beauty palette, but I feel like this is, for me anyway, it's nicer because it's a little bit more curated and cut down, and you get rid of a lot of the filler. Like I'm not a fan of sequin shades. I can stand them, but I'm not a fan of them, and I would never buy a palette with a whole row of those sequin shades in them because I just wouldn't use them. I think they're, I don't really, there's very few sequin shades that I see the point of. Let's put it that way. So I like that this is just cutting the fat and getting to solid mattes and then some metallics and then some beautiful, intense, really sparkly shades. So again, 12 shadows for $90 in comparison to the Pat McGrath Mothership palettes where you're paying $125 for 10 shades. So you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck out of this palette. The palette is very reminiscent of the Mothership palettes. It's not quite as heavy, it's not quite as luxe, but it is definitely a beautiful kind of luxury experience. And I love just the overall look of the palette. I like the contour palette as well, but I think this just really stands out for me, and I find it to be extremely beautiful, and like when you open it up, you're like, oh, that's really, it's just nice to sit down and use. So the colors I used today, I used this shade right here, this shade, this shade, this shade, a little bit of this shade, and then these two shades and this shade. So we used 1, 6, 7, 8. So I used 8 out of 12. So I feel like I have a pretty good idea about this palette. As far as the mattes go, these are extremely nice, soft, blendable and buildable mattes. They're not too intensely pigmented to where it's going to be overwhelming and you're going to get too dark or too dramatic too fast, but they build on themselves beautifully and they blend out wonderfully. There's no tugging, there's no, you know, I have texture on my eyes, and a lot of time I have to do circular motions, especially towards the inner portion of my eye, so I don't get those weird kind of lines of demarcation where my skin is a little textured and wrinkled. I got wrinkles. I'm 30. I've got wrinkles. So I did not find that with this palette at all. I feel like they were just very smooth, very buttery, very easy to blend. I think buttery mattes is a very apt term for these. These shimmers in here, and I haven't used these two on the eye, but they are extremely beautiful and almost like a thin texture. So to whereas sometimes like the Melt cosmetic shimmers, for example, can get very thick and you have to kind of build them up to get the impact that you want. These are a little bit more conducive to just layering on the eye, and you get a nice thin layer with the highest amount of impact. And then these Diamond Sparkle shades are fantastic. I find them to be less crumbly than the Pat McGrath special shades, just in my opinion, those Astral shades. And I really, really like the way they go on the eye. As I showed you in the demo, they go on beautifully wet or dry in my experience. This one especially is so gorgeous. I think this is such a beautiful fall palette. So overall, I'm really, really happy with how this palette performed on the eye. So let's go ahead and do some swatches. So I'm going to do the mattes first. And these don't have names, and to the touch, they feel just silky smooth and super pretty. So I'm just gonna swatch these here. So these are the first. Look at it, like they're so smooth. There's no dragging. I mean, those are some of the best swatches I've ever seen as far as mattes go. Really, really pretty. So again, I used this one all over, this one in my transition, and this one in the deep crease. Let's swatch the rest of these mattes, or sorry, in the crease. And then I used this one in the deep crease and this one kind of as a definer liner. Like, look how smooth that is. The black, maybe not so much. Again, it's a black, but just for using it for my purposes today, for what I needed, it worked wonderfully. So those are the matte shades. And this black doesn't feel as soft to the touch, but again, I'm not really big on that because you're not gonna put them on your fingers, you're putting them on your eye, and you can't, you know what I mean. Anyway, next let's go in with the metallics, which is this shade right here, this shade and this shade. Well, this is just insane. Look at the color on that. I'm looking at my monitor. These are so beautiful. They almost have a little bit of a slip to them. So these are the metallics. Just again, a nice, smooth, thin, but high impact formula. And that deep dark, I need to do a smoky eye with this because that shade is just stunning. Super, super pretty. And this is the shade that I used kind of under that sparkler in my inner corner today. And then finally, let's go in with the diamond sparkles. You see the reflection on that? They almost look wet. So, you know, I used this shade dry. I showed y'all this shade dry and then I wet it down and used it, and I thought the impact was just beautiful. And these, there's no glitter in these. I mean, they're glittery, but there's really no flakiness to them. I did have the smallest amount of fallout, but really they were just beautiful and smooth, and just apply like a gorgeous metallic or a gorgeous shimmer with just that crazy, crazy impact. So those are the metallics and the diamond sparkles. So in terms of my overall thoughts on the palette, do I think it is worth the money? I think it absolutely is. You're going to get that luxury experience. You're getting a good amount of product in here, and not just the amount of product, but the quality is fabulous. I mean, just initial thoughts using a majority of the shades in this palette. I'm really, really happy with the look. I am loving the way the look came out, and I'm really excited to use this palette because I think it is a beautiful fall palette. But then again, it's just a great, versatile, neutral palette where you can get a very easy, everyday office appropriate look. You can get something really deep and smoky for a night out on the town. You can really go from 0 to 60 with this palette, and I think it is just stunning and extremely well put together. And in terms of the colors that you're getting, there's no fluff in here, which I really enjoy. I think everything is in here is purposeful, and there's a justification for it being in here. You're not getting a bunch of shades that are really, really similar with just very small tone differentiations or depth differentiations. You know, in terms of how I use this palette, I have got, you know, my all over color. I've got a warm transition, a light tone transition, a little bit more of a warm crease color. I feel like this color right here is really interesting because I feel like it could go with either a more cool toned look or a more warm toned look. It's almost like a brown, it's like a reddish brown, but there's a little bit of coolness in there, which I think is really cool. And then of course you've got a black, which is wonderful to really deepen up something or smoke something out. And then I love that you have shimmers that correspond really, really well. So it would be very easy to come up with a very warm look, a very cool look, or something just really neutral and in between. And I think it's fabulous. I think the textures are fabulous. I think if you are somebody who is a little bit older, who deals with textures on the eyelids, this is very much like the Zoeva formula for me in terms of the shimmers, to where they are very flattering, but they are way, way, way more high impact in terms of the reflectiveness of those shimmers, and the mattes are just beautiful. Is this a must-have palette? Probably not. If you are an eyeshadow fan, you probably could find this color story somewhere in your collection. I think if you are interested in this palette and just want a great everyday palette, really invest in an everyday neutral palette that can take you from just everyday work appropriate to a special occasion, and you want to just invest in a great one, I think this is it. Because a lot of times some of these Natasha Denona palettes, like for example, the Glam palette is beautiful, but you've got a ton of shades in there, and that can be overwhelming sometimes. And it's only cool. You have got the Bronze palette, which is beautiful, but it's only warm. You know, it's kind of like that with some of these more luxury palettes. With Pat McGrath, I feel like you've got these beautiful, glorious color stories, but they're a little overwhelming sometimes when you look at those special shades, because they are so special and unique that sometimes they're not great everyday palettes. They're more for special occasions. And I feel like this is like kind of the best of both worlds. You're getting a really trimmed down color story, you're getting a lot of versatility, you're getting the quality for just what most people in general like to do with their eyeshadows, which, let's be real, most people on an everyday basis are using a neutral palette, especially if you are in the corporate world. You know, not everybody, but a lot of people, and I think this is just an absolutely stunning palette. So, and just finally, just to wrap it up, I did want to talk a little bit about the shipping. Shipping was free for me. I ordered it on a Sunday afternoon. I remember because I was going to get a pedicure with my mama, and I ordered it while I was getting my pedicure done, and it shipped either that night or the next morning, and I had it within 3 to 4 days. So really quick customer service. It was packaged really well, and I was just, overall, my experience so far with this brand has been wonderful. So yeah, overall thoughts, I think customer service is great. As far as the contour palette goes, I'm really liking it. I think I was really surprised by it. It was kind of one of those things that, well, I might as well bundle it and try it out. I like the packaging on it. I think that this is something that would be great for travel. I don't know that it is the most convenient thing for me in terms of how I put on my makeup, but I was pleasantly surprised by this palette, and I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially this shade right here. So very, very happy. And just I did just set it with a Hourglass dim light just as a bronzer, and then I used dim light or a radiant light just all over my face as a setting powder today, because I just usually set my face. So yeah, this was kind of one of, I kind of just bought it, I was like, I'll try it. You know, we'll see how it goes. And I was actually pleasantly surprised with this. This is not a must-have for me, especially if you have contour products or highlighting products that you like. I think you can buy things that are comparable in terms of the texture and the way they perform in the drugstore. For example, the Jordana Sculpt and Go stick, I think, is very, very comparable to this color, especially for a few bucks. So, but I did like the highlighting shade. You know, if I was just going for a natural, I don't really want to put anything on my skin, but I want to look a little dewy and highlighted, I could definitely see myself going for this palette. I think it's really gorgeous and very nice quality. I like the fact that there are 5 different options in terms of the color range. I think that's really, really nice. And I think it kind of goes along with the versatility in terms of who this palette would suit for the eyeshadow palette, because you are going to get a nice range. I think this is going to work for a wide variety. I mean, really universally, I think this would work on a universal range of people. Let me know down below if you are a deeper skin toned individual. I would love to hear your thoughts, because we all know I'm translucent, so I can only speak from, you know, that experience when it comes to makeup. But looking at it, it looks like it would be universally appropriate for everybody. And I think it's just wonderfully put together. I am super, super happy and pleasantly surprised with this palette, and I'm really excited to use this some more. I'm loving it. Dun, 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 dun. I'm loving it. I love the palette. I think it's great. I think the customer service is great. And I think if you are interested in this palette, the eyeshadow palette, the signature palette, is what I would go for. Yeah, guys, that's my review, tutorial slash demo slash thoughts on the Vanity makeup signature palette and the contour palette. So let me know your thoughts down below. Are you interested in this? Or are you just, can you live without it? Is it the same old thing? I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say. But as always, thank you guys so much for hanging out and talking about makeup with me. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Have a rockin' week, and I will see you next time.